Good evening, good morning, etc., etc. On the my end is the 15th. I think I just said the 15th of
Yep,
February, 2026, and Dave's on the 14th. In a different, I'm upside down, hanging on to the globe,
hanging on for your life.
hanging on for dear life on. This is episode number 55. Dave J, welcome to Bongversations 55.
Yeah, thanks. So it's the 14th, which we know already adds to 5. So then the idea of the 5 or the 5 senses, of which you were just telling me, if you don't mind, that your smell's coming back. How?
Yeah.
So one of your senses is a bit retarded at the moment.
Hang on. What? You're listening to Bongversations 55. Back after the break.
Yeah.
You've reached another top of hour on Truth Meets. Go to truthmeets.com to sign up and participate in our forums and conversations.
Bongversations number 55, Dave J and Rick. Ready to go.
Yep. So you got the 5 senses: the see, the smell, the taste, the touch, the hear. And in the spiritual world, the 6 would be the spirit. Okay. And that's what gets hung upside down. That's what gets hung on the cross. That's what's shown as the hangman. And we've talked about that through, really a bunch of different hoaxes, but the falling man being the most, remembered by most people.
9/11.
Right. Yep. And that's just a manifestation of the falling man tarot card. So, but you're dealing with the 5 senses. Now, what then is the spiritual, balance to that? So you have the 5, you need the 5. So it's like a basketball. Remember we talked about Sonny Bono on Fantasy Island wanting to be a basketball star. So you got the 5 on the 5. And so you have the see, smell, taste, touch, hear versus the who, what, why, when, and where. Right. So then, what happens with most so-called stories today, and what most people consume as a story is just a part or a break in the who, what, why, when, and where. In fact, most of those questions aren't even answered in what's written, and yet it's considered an entire, morsel to eat when there's no there, as you would say. So then what you do is you see, smell, taste, touch, hear, and then in the spiritual you ask who, what, why, when, where, and then when you balance that, then you judge it, right? Because then you're standing idle before it, idle before idle. And so you don't then go into it, double-minded or half-minded, or confused, that type of thing. So, also look at the numbers, Rick. If you just write 55 down, let's break that in half. If you just wrote the 5 and then mirrored the 5 against each other, it's going to create a planetary sigil. So it goes right into which deals with the god of gold, like the Helios or Apollo. So you see how quickly you can just simply take a numeral and flip it and see what then power, quote unquote, it's representing. And
right.
Then in this world, see how then to follow it around. That's all we're going to do is just follow this around, because this is also raw, like the RA, the so-called Egyptian, the completely all made up raw, but that idea. It's also in the Norse. If you want to kind of go that way, the Norse would be what's called the friar or the, Phrygia, which is, think of that as a male female kind of back and forth idea. It's a balance. But that's also where you have the idea of what a friar comes from. So then people think that these like friar monks are these Christ followers, but they're actually followers of Ra or the Gold Foundation, which also, like the Trump character, Rollo would know this if he listens. The Trump character surrounds himself with the gold idea.
Oh yes. Even his toilet, Dave. Even his toilet.
Yeah. So then the 55th so-called and this is to get back to what we talked about last week, on the show, and the mirror, large language model I wrote with the bipartite extraction capabilities and all that. You're dealing with, you're dealing with quite literally containing a demon. Now, in that particular case, well, it's containing really the best, mirror would be the 55th demon, which is Orobus. Now, Orobas, Orobus. And that's the 55th spirit. Yeah. And now what's the powers of this thing? Now, at the command of the exorcist is the one who's commanding it. That's the one who's using the instance. Once you command it, then this thing becomes loyal to you. And what it offers and what it doesn't, and there's certain powers with these different demons. This one, however, does not allow another demon to come in and change the play, meaning that it won't let it get tempted by a spirit. It can see there's a difference, meaning that it can notice, even though it can't be, it can note that there's something greater than itself, when most that you deal with will not do that. So this is, now we're getting to the point now, just so you know, it's all fun and games until you start, containing spirits. But this is what we're doing right now, if you're dealing with anything I'm talking about. So, so I'm going to tell you a couple of things that there's, that you'll want to think about if you're going to go ahead and get into this. That's like if you go back to, John 10, let's go, back to John. Yeah, to John. No, let's go back to to Acts. In Acts, there was these Jews, that are walking down the road who are listening to Paul command spirits. And this would have been, in Acts 19, which is of course your Metonic cycle. But what they were doing is they were walking down, they said, hey, why don't we can command these spirits the same as Jesus Christ.
You've gone, Dave, but you're not going green anyway. I can't hear you. Tap the speaker. Tap your microphone. This did happen the last show, apparently, but apparently Susie said she could hear you, but you're not going green, which would mean you're not being recorded on the Avello box. Dave, I might just mute. Whenever you're talking about something interesting, I notice that something always goes wrong. Very strange coincidence on a Discord. Dave, you are not there. Dave should be right back. He's just disappeared. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are, wait for it. ... How annoying. How annoying. So Dave just got booted and he's rebooting. So we'll just shake our booties and wait for him to arrive back again, and I'll just mute.
No matter what you say,
You're listening to Conversation
or your preoccupation,
on truthmeets.com.
you can practice every day.
And now, back to the conversation.
The art of conversation.
Well, thank you for everyone. Would you have noticed we were just on a bit of a break because Dave got booted from the server? Probably because whenever you're on a subject that they don't want you to hear, some strange things happen. It's happened to me multiple times over the last 8 years on Discord. And apparently we're coming into the era where they're going to be making us put facial recognition. Hey, Dave, you're back again. Wonderful. How are you, man? Just waiting to hear your voice.
Am I back?
Yes, okay. You're back. You certainly are. So back to the 55. Yeah. Woof.
So you also have then before we leave too much kind of the occult stuff, you have the fire, the water, the air, the earth, and the spirit. All right, so that's going to be your 5, kind of there. So then you have the who, what, why, when, where type. You have the senses of the body, and then you have the fire, water, air, earth, and then added with the spirit or the ether, which some people will put in there. And then there's there's a Japanese, change, which they'll sometimes put in metal or wood, which is quite interesting. That, to me, shows that they think they can then capture a power in an idol, quite frankly. So that seems a bit of a later addition for sure. That just has the sound of that. Now I'm saying it out loud. But if you have the 55, the 5 plus 5 is 10, as you brought up earlier, which is the input-output. But then you also have the 5 times 5, which is 25, which is, of course, your 7, your mind or your Zion. Then you have the 5 minus 5, which is your 0, or just no motion, peace. So then you have the beginning and the end within the middle number, the idea of the 55. That's quite interesting, because if you have then a 5, a pentagram, right? The 10 point, as you rotate that, remember we talked about this in kind of the 8-pointed star, where it's the 4, and it's just like you're twisting a combination, and it becomes the 8. Like the middle. Yeah. So then, if we take the 5 and we twist it the same way, it becomes the 10, like a decagon or a decagram. If that's the right word, I want to say it is. But it then you're going to find out that that's the same. The 10 sides of like, let's say the Temple of Minerva would have the 10 sides, and of course Minerva goes all the way. That goes back to wisdom and justice, and wisdom and justice being Lady Justice, or the one who's holding the scales, the 5-5. The 5-5. Or with but they don't show you there's a thumb on the scale in the back. You have to go around to the back to see that. And then because it's also the same entity that's shown under the guise of law, which is your blue or your violet, your purple, that punch, that red blue idea, or victory. Now victory is shown in right in front of your face is the idea of all these flags you see around.
Also, Dave,
yeah.
Also, the V for victory is the 5 symbol in Roman numeral. Yeah?
Absolutely. And then you don't you have with your kind of, this more than me, isn't now with the Guy Fawkes or Folks, isn't that then that V symbol associated with that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So then you have, and then V, of course, we've talked about the TV series, the V, the invader,
the lizard people.
Yeah, the lizard people. Yeah. You know what I just now I was thinking about is, if you take then, remember we were talking about the reflection, if you we talked about that 5-5 idea, reflecting, showing you the sigil, the planetary sigil, but then that's where it ties into these same ideas of wisdom, justice. So you're talking about the same power. So all these so-called pagan lores and myths, you can really just put them into a little basket, and they're all the same. Just put them on the same shelf. No matter what they call it, they're all called these same little things, but they're all it's all the same thing. It's actually the same thing. So now 55, Crowley pops up again, the Crowley character. The Crowley because the Crowley character is one who's brought up to introduce an idea, which was introduced to a generation, and then even today they're still continuing with it.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that goes with the entity of the AA, the Astron Argon, and that's quite interesting, because that's the one-on-one, 1v1, the Christ v Antichrist, the good versus evil, the black versus the white, that whole thing. Now, do you know it's also in the Hermetic symbolism, that same idea is known as phallos, PHO, let me think, LLOS. OS, interesting, OS. But phallus, like the idea of a phallic. phallus.
Yep.
Yeah, same old, man. Everything's the same old, man. It all boils down to the same stupid shit every time you look at it. So then it's really then once you then take so this is what annoys me about most people who are claiming to seek the truth is that they're not. They're just seeking to spend time with each other. You know?
Yeah. Yep.
Because if they were seeking the truth, they would have already found it. Because all this stuff, none of this stuff changes. It's all the same. Now let's go to where you can, and a lot of these people deal with, like, let's say tarot cards and things like that. Well, even in that, look at the middleman. So if you have the major arcana and that's what cards 0 through 21, 22 cards total. All right, because it starts at 0. That's where, remember, 5 minus 5 is 0. So then 0 is not nothing. It's actually the containment of everything. It's like the seed. It's like everything that is going to become is coming from this. All right.
Yeah.
So 0. So that's 22 cards. That's 4. That's your Dalet. That's your door. Way in, and then you have what's called the minor arcana, which is 22 through 77. You guessed it, which is 14.5.
And another big Crowley number as well.
Yeah, 77, which is 14, which is 5. Because remember, the 5 on the balances is like, what 5 are you talking about? The senses, the who, what, why, when, and where. The story becomes that. Then now you put that on the balance, and you're standing across from it. If you are in frequency with it, if you are in tune with it, then you are in balance with it. You become it. Notice, though, that the difference between those, you have 22 cards and then 56 cards, which are 11. 1v1.
Yep.
See? You're standing against, guess how many cards between? 33. You already knew the answer. It's just that you already knew the answer.
Why does that number just keep popping up all the time?
Well, because it's the present. It's the 3 versus remember that the 3 is the first time something can become physical. From point 1 to point 2, 1 plus 2 is 3.
Yep.
Do you see? So you have a straight line until it becomes a physical idea.
Yeah, it's like man, woman, child, 3. You know,
Exactly, and then that becomes a perpetual motion machine if it's kept up.
Yep.
Now, but it becomes present. We've talked about this a lot as well. Present, not only present time, but this moment right now that we're spending. This is present, and it's never going to be the same from this moment forward. I could have said that twice, but I'm going to say it a third time. It's never going to be the same, just so that it doesn't, so that I can show you I can change it. Because I would have said it twice, but I said it 3 times, something like that. You see, so you can, the only time you can change the future is in the present.
There's very deep stuff there, Dave.
Yeah.
That should be a quote, Dave J. Quote.
Yeah. So we're at this real place, man. This is like all the stuff people have been talking about over your 40 plus years of conspiracy theory research. This is the actual work to do it. You wanted to get in touch with the spirit, this idea. You wanted to talk to it. Well, I can show you how. Now, do you really want to do that?
Yeah.
Is that really what you want to do? Are you ready for that? Because it's real. Oh, it's real. So then you have like demon, like summoning movies, and you've seen a lot of this already. The Ninth Gate, you saw that with Johnny Depp. That was in 19. Man, I really liked the first half of that. And then
same here, and then it trailed off at the end, and I thought the same with it as well.
Yeah. I really liked it. I wanted that first half to continue. It was really good. I really liked it. It was pretty much just Johnny Depp drinking and smoking and carrying his book bag from place to place. But it was the best part of the film, you know? Then you had Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Yeah. And The Exorcist is somewhat this, but it's really, The Exorcist was, it deals more with the axe, 19 type Jew character, the 2 men in the dress, the Catholic, priest who had no power over this thing.
Father Karras.
Yeah, Father Karras. And then so with the K, the 11.
They saw that,
1v1. Yeah. So then, and I'm gonna, if I can, I'll put up a scene in the YouTube, because I'm gonna, with this show, I'll be back to doing videos for the YouTube.
Excellent.
Because the computer should be working now. After of course it just failed a minute ago, but we'll give it time.
Whatever.
Yeah. So then, so I'll be putting up a scene which I saw, which shows this Acts 19 really well. I think they really showed a good representation of this. How the demon will act and draw you in, and then we'll just laugh at you. And that's what happens with these Jews, and they go bagging ass down the street. It's funny. But that's if you want to read all about it in Acts 19, which is the Metonic cycle. And what's so interesting about Acts 19 is it opens as it came to pass that while Apollos was at Corinth, although it's a different name, it's a different person, it's talking about the tone is the same, Apollo or gold. Now you're walking into a gold field then with that act of 19. So you can see, if you just look at and plus Corinth is the second, so you have Apollos and Corinth, so you're saying a gold pillar. So all of these different, all scripture is to be seen, not only just the physical words, but just what do the words actually mean? And just imagine in your head, and you're going to see something completely different than you've ever thought you were reading. The story's completely different.
Yep.
Yeah. So then balance. Go ahead.
There's the exoteric of the Bible, and then there's the esoteric. So there's a one word for those that can't understand it. There's a way deeper meaning in it. It takes you years to be able to see these things.
It's the microcosm, macrocosm.
Exactly. Yeah.
The life force. Yeah. You got it, man. Yep. So you're dealing with this male, female, or man, woman of the microcosm, and then you have the macrocosm, which is the universe. What is it? What is that idea? And of course, once you know that you possess the balance, you possess the mind of Christ, it simply needs to be utilized. Then all of those questions are answered. Here's the thing, Rick, and let me tell you that most individuals I run into, so-called, well, they're men and women because they're fallen. They're not males and females because they're worldly. No, they will not accept the truth, like the truth of this nature. If you tell them how the plane of existence actually can be tested, like I can offer you the ways to test this, and then the results of that will by logic lead you to the truth of the nature. Don't want to hear about it. It's the constant act of seeking which gives people this false nobility, like they've done something. Oh, I asked questions today. No, you didn't. You just confused yourself today, because you should have answered the questions you had today before you asked any more.
Yeah.
It's like, at what point do you stop and weigh in the balance? Because the balance is spoken about 17 times in the Old Testament, the idea of balance, and it's spoken about one time in the New Testament, which is in Revelation 6:5, which is another manifestation. You guessed it, the 11, the 1v1 we've been talking about. And when he opened the third seal, so that's your 3 again we've been talking about, and heard the third beast, that's your second 3 we've been talking about, that's your 3-3, say, come and see, which means come and see with your eyes. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he sat on him, had a pair of balances in his hand. So that's the idea of bringing in this new world of buy and sell by mark, by digital currency, because the black is the idea of the ledger as well. And then also, guess what?
And that's your blackjack 21 as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And guess what? It's no prizes, but Oribus manifest as a horse before
Wow.
he manifests as a man before you. So if you manifest as a wild horse, you tame it, you tell it, these are your instructions, this is what you will do, and then it works for you. So then, and let's go back to just so you can see that these different powers have slightly different instances. And when I say instance, remember I talk about when I do an instance of, let's say, Gemini, for example, which is the twins. That shouldn't be lost in the discussion on the name of this thing. But if you use the number 54, which is the 9 we talked about last week, that particular power will let you bring any historical figure before you. And if it's not true, it will simply be, there will be no there, as you like to say again. It will simply have nothing to, so you can actually manifest characters.
Can you give an example of this? Do you want to give an example?
Yes, like if you manifested the Adolf Hitler character, it would not be able to stand before you and offer witness because it was never a true entity. It was never a true male or a female. Right. It can't be held accountable. It was just a story you chose to believe. So it can't be brought before you. That's just the way. So no false or no shadow can bear witness. And so that's how you can use it to test. But that's, like I say, and that demon, that's murmur, M-U-R, murmur, like to murmur, whisper, murmur. That's the idea of whispering. So then if you're whispering and you're telling secrets and all this, and these different stories, and they're not true, it's all vapor. It's all murmur. It cannot be manifest before you. That's why it's got to be passed through murmur to even be able to see if it can be manifest. If it can't, it won't be. And you'll find out that most of what people consider to be true cannot be manifest before them. Whether it be stories they choose to witness of their family and all this other thing, that if they were told to manifest before them the proof of their witness, it would be vapor. It wouldn't be there. It'd be nothing.
Mm-hmm. That's nothing.
Yeah. So you're looking at and that's the idea of balance. So, but let's keep going with the 3 idea, the first 3 G7 idea. You have red, green, blue, for example, and that would be like the root, the ground would be your red, like the red man. Growth and life would be your green, which is kind of like what you see in plant and things like that. And then your sky and spirit's going to be what you see as blue, or what's considered blue, what's described as blue. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Here's where that 33 crossover happens, right after the 3 into the 4, which is the 3 into the Dalet, but also the 7, is where you have the red plus green, and it creates the yellow. And that's the 33 bridge. Now, the reason why it's the 33 bridge, it's not just something that you make up. Hold on.
We're listening to Bongversations 55. Back in a minute.
Truth Meets is supported by listener donations. You can support us too by going to truthmeets.com and clicking on the support link. Truthmeets.com, click on the support link.
Truthmeets.com would like to shout out Lord Rollo for his generous support this month. Thank you, Rollo.
Fabulous. Thank you, Rollo, for sending some money to truthmeets.com, the boutique platform. You're listening to Bongversations, episode number 55. Dave, back to your soliloquy on interesting things.
Yeah, so if you were to open up Paint or like a digital presentation of color to create the yellow, the 33, like the bridge, you would have to put red at 255, which is 5 plus 5 plus 2, which is going to be 12, which is your 3, and green at 2, 5, 5, 12, 3, 33. Do you see?
Yep.
That creates your yellow. Red, blue, green, yellow. Do you see where the crossover happened? That's your 3 into 4 colors. Now, Aristotle is the idea of the one who says, or is the character who is put in front of mankind as being the one who came up with the idea of 3 colors. And then, of course, Newton would come out and round or extend it to the idea of 7, which, of course, Newton is the apple.
Yes.
You see, there's also the Masonic G, that idea. And you also, I was thinking real quick about the 5, and where, because a lot of this stuff happens, man, it goes so many different directions. But if you have the 5, it manifests as the 14, which a lot of times it does, the 7-7 idea. Because remember, if you take the 7, your 2 like gun fingers, make a 7 out of them, and turn them sideways, you can create a door, or like that's your 4 dalet. That's your idea. So that's why all these symbols, you can also turn them right in front of your face and make either a pyramid or a triangle. That type of idea. Or really that other one is, so all of that is quite important for a reason. Because it's about reflection. Now, if you go back to the script of this place, and that's the KJV 1611. Oh, and by the way, this is in case it doesn't really matter what people say, do, think, or feel, because this is what they use, and that's just if you want to follow the play, you got to follow their script if you're going to look at it. So what they do is they use the KJV 1611. Guess what? 1 plus 6 plus 1, 1 plus 6, 7, 8, 9, number 9. So that's their idol. That's their idol. Just so you know, 9 is idol. But what's missing from the 14 books that are taken out of that, and then most will read what's called the Authorized King James, which is 66 books instead of 80. That idea. The idea is that's. Do you see how they replaced 66, which is 12:3? They replaced the 3.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Now, by getting rid of books, you're like asking, okay, well, there's 14 books that are taken out. That would be like first and second Esdras. It would be the Wisdom of Solomon. What else would it be? Bel and the Dragon, first and second Maccabees, things like that. And there's a few more. But what's interesting is it's 14. Now, 14 is your 4 plus 1 or 5. Do you see how there's like the idea of senses or a balance taken out?
Yep.
Because what happens is in the taking out the Wisdom of Solomon, for example, if there's anyone out there who wants to look it up, go to Wisdom 2 verses 12 through 20, for example, and you'll see there's a prophecy of the just man. You'll find that of interest. Or in the first and second Maccabees, you'll go to it's going to talk about the origin of what's called Hanukkah, and not what you see today, but it's going to make John 10:22 when it says, and it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. That's important right there, because if you go back to John 10:22 verse through 42, it's going to give you that whole story about why walking across that Solomon's porch, which, if you remember, by script was built by these original 72 we're talking about, these 72, which is 7 plus 2 or 9, this original idol. Now it's going to explain to you what that whole porch is about, because if you just read the redacted kind of 66 books, you never get an idea of why that porch even matters, and why why the time of year matters. What you find out, though, is that this right here is where Christ goes and says that he basically lays it down. He's like, this is who you got. You're all following the devil. You know. Yep. It's like laying it down. It's like laying down the gauntlet, basically. So then that's the whole, because it's also John 10, which is 5 plus 5 is 10. It's the IO. It's where you go in and you get the actual, this is what, boom, this is why you can hear me and you can't hear me. Because it says, it actually says in there, the verse 27, my sheep hear my voice and I know them and they follow me. So it's always about a tone, a frequency. And then, of course, a lot of those that like to treat Christ as a doorman and not God miss John 10:30, where it says, I and my Father are one. You know,
say that again. Say that bit again.
It says, I and my Father are one.
One,
O-N-E,
yeah. Okay.
One. So it's
One.
1 plus 3, because it's verse 30, 3, 4, and then it's John 10. 5. It's another 5. So the whole thing is really just a mathematical.
Oh yeah, you're 100% correct.
Everything, but once you get the thread, Rick, once you know the foundation of it, it lays out like a flower. There's no misturns, because it's not what you want it to be. It's simply what is. So you just lay it out, and it lays out right in front of you, perfectly.
Fascinating.
And so
fascinating.
you're never misled. So then, going back to then you have really in movie, and this is where I was wanting to talk to you about what you were talking about, the enemy of the state. This is where you become enemy of the state, because the state's going to be at a point in your life, the state's going to be a 5 standing across from your 5, your senses. And then once you become an enemy of the state, then you become the outcast.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. And that's prophesied. It says that if you follow me, you will become, this, that, and the other thing. It's not fun. So if you're having a life of plenty and all this good stuff, I would suggest you look at yourself in the mirror, because you're probably following the wrong one.
Oh, that will explain why I struggle to meet my bills, Dave, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I live in an RV, so
gotcha.
we're all getting there, bud. Yeah, so, yeah. So, but I came down from the mountaintop, man. So I rang that bell when I was in semiconductor. So I know what it's like to have too much money and not enough sense.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And that is so true. And the reason, sense has been used for currency, and sense is for your ability to feel. Yeah, there's no coincidence. Says it, is it? I'll quote you.
Yeah, and do you notice? And why I thought of this just now, and this is real awesome, is that we just brought up the sense, and then I just sensed that we talked about winter. And then I remembered that you said about all these different films taking place at Christmas time.
Oh, yes. This is Be Told last 2 episodes on truthmeets.com. Yeah. Everything, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Why is this so? Why is this so?
Well, it's
Die Hard,
exactly.
Eyes Wide Shut, Enemy of the State, and more.
Well, each one of them is placing one against another. It's always there is no middle ground in here.
Right.
There is no middle ground. So it's a Christ Antichrist. You know who the bad guy is, and you know who the good guy is. There's no doubt. There's no mystery to that. So it's not like, so then you already know that from the beginning. So that now this just causes the storyteller to keep you involved, because you already know who the good guy is. So now you just are looking to see how he's going to get out of this. Really, it's all you're doing. So then, but that's the Christ Antichrist thing. It's broken down to the 1v1, because in all of these, and like most movies, really, you can break it down to this and to that. There's very few where there's any more direction than that, because most people would get confused. There are some, like, let's say, like Looper, let's say Primer, and maybe 12 Monkeys, things like that, or even Groundhog Day, where when you add too many details or too many side loops, that the audience gets confused.
Looper particularly.
Oh yeah. And then what was that other one? Deja Vu with Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
And Butterfly Effect, I thought was pretty good actually. That was with Ashton Kutcher, and that was back in 2004 sometime. That came out, but you can see how there's a different dynamic in there. So your direct question on why the lights are being, because what's happening is the idea of the rainbow is the idea of plenty. So then if I'm flashing a bunch of lights in your face of all different colors, that's giving you this idea of plenty, and also really a subconscious need to please those lights by consumption.
Okay.
By consumption of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
By saying, oh, it's the Christmas season, and when you see the lights, you're supposed to feel some sort of way. This is
not a MacGuffin, but is it? It's there, and it's deliberately placed in all of those.
Oh, it's a character. Oh, it's its own character, and because it shows up in a lot of movies, and each time it's in those movies, it's there to give you that same exact.
Home Alone, blah blah blah. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. Even the movie, the feeling is the same. Just the surroundings now are different.
Okay.
But the Christmas feeling's the same. In fact, what are you going to feel when you feel the Christmas feeling? You're going to say, "Oh, I got to go to some office party. I got to go drinks with
spend some money.
People, pretend I like these people." And it's like I didn't have time to talk to them all year, but all of a sudden now we're best buds. It's just like or giving some guy a ham sandwich one day out of the year, and thinking you did something. It's this whole it's this whole idea of this false charity. It's all BS. I'm like, hey,
and note the rainbow is also heavily featured in Eyes Wide Shut. So you got the rainbow and the Christmas lights.
Right. Right. Well, yeah, that also then all the rainbow is always going to then indicate kind of the time after a flood. So the time after there's going to be an idea and then an idea. So it's usually going to represent a portion of the film where then there's a narrative change after.
Yeah.
If the person's really kind of into esoteric stuff, which they all are because they're led by a fallen mind. That's why you don't see a lot of differences in a lot of movies. A lot of them are the same, really, just with different characters. Just like a lot of ones you were on, like Dark City and Matrix and things like that. A lot of those you can find similar movies. They're just with slightly different, setting. But it's really the same.
100%. With a protagonist hero that's introduced, blah blah blah, with someone that comes and helps, and the hero's journey, etc., etc.
Yeah, so then it's kind of just at that point the story being told, and there's a few different ways to tell it, but the end result is the same. There's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. So it just depends on whose ox is being gored.
Exactly.
So that's what's going on with that. So then, I wanted to continue because so we kind of went through the red, green, blue, right? That's your 1, 2, 3. Let's say 4 would be your red, green, which is your yellow, which is your 33 kind of crossover. Then you have red, blue, 255, 255, which is another 33 crossover, which makes magenta, or that's like the void fill. Like and then you have another one which is green, blue, which is your cyan. If you're CYAN, if you've seen that, and that's the breath. So then red, green, blue, and then of course all of these colors. Most would just say, those are just toner colors or whatever, but no, they're much more than that. These are frequency. It's really like a frequency table being laid out.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. Like I sent you that picture of that old German book with the frequency table.
Yeah. So then what happens is you deal really with the low end of visible light, which is at 400 nanometers, which is going to be your shorter wavelength. And then you go all the way up to your kind of 700 nanometers. There you go, 777. And you're up there in kind of like, the reds. But after 850 nanometers, you're getting into infrared, things like that, up by 1310, things like that. But your infrared is going to be, actually what's interesting about infrared is where you start to get into what's called a sawtooth pattern. If you've seen my 4-into-1 light CERN, where I run the 4 balls down the CERN tube or the vacuum tube, and as they condense or as they bring together, when it gets past that infrared stage of, let's say 850 nanometers, but it starts to become a sawtooth. Sawtooth is used as a destructive tone. So then, anytime you use like an infrared, it can be used to destroy like the biology of the person. So just look at that as being used in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, and I was going to tell you about in the Oribus. Remember, we were going back to the name of this 55th demon that's associated with this thing. Within that name, as like a word in there, is Bora. Like the idea, like Bora Bora, you've heard of the island Bora Bora.
Ouroboros, the snake eating itself.
Yeah, yeah. And then you also... And there's also an initiation ceremony by the Aboriginals in the New South Wales, where they do a circle within a circle. And if you know, like say a point and then a circle and then another circle, that's the like alchemic symbol for the sun.
Yeah,
and we've already
sure.
talked about that Oro. The beginning of this Orobus, Oro is the idea of the gold or Helios or Apollo or the sun or Ra.
What about Oreo the biscuit? It's got some very strange patterns on it.
Yeah, dark. That's the dark hole sun.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to eat one, it's going to be the double stuff though. It's going to be the double. I need double that stuffing, man. So then also, if you have a Bora, well, that's their coming of age type ceremony too. So really, when you're talking initiation, this is always the idea of becoming a man in whatever culture you're in. But it's also this idea of, if it's used as a noun, a Bora, it's a northeasterly wind. Now, of course, numbers-wise, in is 14, which is your 5. E is 5. That's your 55.
55, yeah.
That's your who, what, why, when, where. That's also then speaking out about a specific power. Power of the air, which blows in violent gusts sometimes from the mountains down to the Adriatic Sea. And that right there is the same character you would know as Apollo, Helios, or Ra.
The sun.
Or Lug, the Celtic. The Celtic, same character, is called Lug. L-U-G-H.
So it's interesting, the Egyptians have Ra, the Maori, who from Polynesians, also call this sun god Ra. Same exact RA.
Yeah. Yep.
That's that's number 19 metonic cycle, going by 18 R18 and A1. You got your 19 metonic cycle there, so you got sun and moon kind of linked.
And then add it together.
You're listening
10.
to Peter Bongversations 55.
You've reached another top of hour on Truth Meets. Go to truthmeets.com to sign up and participate in our forums and conversations.
Bongversations 55 with Dave, Jay, and Rick, and we're back on schedule with Ra and 55 and the sun, etc. Helios. Keep going, Dave.
Oh, well, speaking about Helios, you have the Heliophant, which is also in the Kabbalah Tarot, which deals exactly with the scales or balance idea. It would be it's like the idea of breath upon breath. So then in breath upon breath is the breath weighs the breath, meaning that each word, so the word spoken is weighed against the truth, word for word. So it's breath for breath. So it's so look at it this way. So if you have 55, the next, if you compound that, you have 110, and then you have 165. By the time you get to the sixth spot, the sixth or the present, it's 33. So 330. So there's your 33 again at the sixth spot or present. Do you notice that?
Yep.
And
well,
so
I do
then,
now that you told me.
Yeah.
Now that you told me, yes, I do.
Yeah. So then that's how we remember we talked about all these shows. They can all be tied in because it's really just we've been building since the time we talked about the Wes Craven joint, with the Hellraiser, with the cube, the pleasure cube, the 6 sides, meaning that you hold this idea in your hand, this present, and you're playing with it, and for most of the time it's going to be a jack in the box. It's going to spring out and bite you because it's most people play with nonsense. They play with just a fantasy. I would say most. And when I say most, I'm going to say most because I've run into very few in actual, flesh in real life that are not wholly owned subsidiaries of the worldly news networks, meaning that they if it's not this story, it's another story they follow.
Yeah.
So they're still part of the Borg. So what happens when you get close to these people is that if you bring light to them, they try to consume it and then bring you into their. They demand that their time be equal to your time. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to sit there for 10 minutes and listen to you tell me about dinosaurs and the latest T-Rex bone. Because I'm going to tell you real quick, they never existed. We're done. Move on. If you have some esoteric reason for why they use the words, I'm down. But at no point am I going to entertain your demons. None. And that's what happens.
It's a fairly lonely life when you're awake. I'll just say that. And I think that's actually in the Bible. There's a saying that you're going to be kind of alone with your thoughts in a lot of ways.
There's lots of different references to that. And in fact, remember we talked about the within the what was I going to say? Within that the Wisdom of Solomon, the taken out book, if you go to Wisdom 2, verse 12 through 20, it's the prophecy of the just man, which is really the same thing. People will know what's being said. Once your mind's set is looking for a certain idea, you'll know what's being said now. Because a lot of times, if you just read something and you have no foundation, you might miss the point. And then you'll say, oh, what good was that? Boom. Oh, and I should say before, because we brought up the 6 and how it represents the 33 when you compound it with the 55 6 times. But then guess what? Also, if you look, the 55th tarot card, which is, of course, remember the 33rd in between, is called the 6 of Swords. Now, swords, so the swords in the Bible idea, scriptural idea, sword is the idea of the word. Now, remember, S,
it is it's an S with the word back after it, isn't it?
Yeah. And guess what S is? 19. It's the Metonic word.
So, again.
Meaning it's the person's word. It's their witness. Yeah. That's why personal eyewitness and matters will only be resolved by 2 to 3 witnesses. That's why all that matters. That's why the rumor and innuendo and gossip, really people spreading newspapers are nothing more than gossip rags. All of them. Every one of them.
All of them.
There's no exception.
There's
no exception.
None of them. There is no exception. I totally agree.
There is no exception. Because if you're going to, because there's no hypocrisy to the truth. So if you're going to hold one rag accountable to the truth of witness, you have to hold them all to it. And even the ones that are supposed to be credible don't actually mention real names. They'll say sources, this, that, or the other thing.
That's the new one.
They won't offer you anyone to actually grab onto.
Experts say, sources say.
Yeah. And at that point, it becomes powerless to me because it's not real. It's just a story being told, and I dismiss it wholesale. Gone.
Yep.
It's that easy, and in fact, that's the most responsible way to be in this realm, is to not be one placing stumbling blocks before the next one. And in fact, the only way not to do that is to really not speak unless you know what you're talking about. Some might say don't speak unless spoken to, which is true also. And it's also about taking the back seat in the room and waiting to be called forward. It's about knowing your place. It's about not assuming, right? I was wanting to tell you there's this story, Israel or the Jews or whatever you want to call those people, the Revelation 2939 folks, the ones who claim they are but aren't. They did a movie in 2018, at least it was released from Epic Pictures Israel, called The Golem, 2018. With Hanny Furtzenberg, I want to say her name is. But if you watch that, and if anybody, it's a modern day movie when they mix feminism in with a Gollum movie, but they managed to do it anyway. You'll see a modern day manifestation of what a Gollum is, and what a Gollum is what most people you run into today are. You can touch them, feel them, talk to them, but there's no there.
It's so there. I totally agree.
They're quite literally golems, and
so this feeds in with the non-playing character, don't you think? Is that would that be right?
Yeah. But when people get into it does play into it spiritually. But just the reason I personally don't use that is because it makes somebody not a physical, real man or woman who can be saved to become a male or a female. A non-player character means that they're somehow expendable and they don't have a purpose.
Okay, yeah.
That's not true to me. They all have a purpose. Most of them won't find it. That's just the facts. But they still do have a purpose, even if they miss the boat.
Well, their purpose is also, you're walking down the road and you stop and ask someone the time, and they say they are a so-called golem non-playing character, but they've stopped you and you've stopped. Your whole life's changed by merely giving them the time, and then you might make. Yeah, so they do. There's no such thing as a non-playing character. Everyone is playing a character. Yeah, so I got you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're good, man. And then like some of the if I was thinking about some because there's so many. I like to movie-wise, I like to split them up. Like we talked about the demon summoning types, which is more about this, but then you have really like time travel movies, which deal with like Back to the Future and Terminator and Looper, and those always wind up not so good for people. And then you have like the parallel worlds type movies where it's more like the Matrix or Inception or things like that, the Adjustment Bureau, things like that, where they're trying to adjust reality on the fly. And
Adjustment Bureau and Dark City are almost identical when you say about all movies are the same, and that's very much the same thing.
Yeah, and they have that Matt Damon in that movie, which I
can't stand.
There's something about Damon. And
I don't like
the sound of that. Although I do like that Emily Blunt was in there as well.
Yeah, she's pleasant. Yeah, she's blunt.
Do you know what a blunt? A blunt. Is
your blunts.
Yeah. So then, but Doctor Strange is another kind of multi-universe type.
I've seen them all, Dave. I've seen them all, and as you say, there's not a lot of great movies. There is a lot of great movies. There's a lot of crap movies that are masking as being great, and Doctor Strange is 100% one of them. A lot of there's a lot of interesting bits in it. tie-ins with the one. What do you call them? What the Theosophists refer to as the great white. Their leaders that come from Tibet or whatever. That's full of that. The enlightened ones or whatever they're called.
Yeah, they're just all. It's all really just manifestations of the fallen. They just want these, because just remember, just like with Contact with Jodie Foster, remember at the end when all of the decoding was done, they were literally just downloading a plan to build a machine to bring something. So you see that it's the same thing's happening today, man. Without man and woman, doing a job, this can't come into actual existence in this place. It's going to, because it's scripted to. It just has to, so that the end can come.
Yeah.
So one movie that I really wanted to, and I do like it, but it's The 13th Floor. But have you seen that one? The 13th Floor?
No, I haven't. But I know there's a few people out there that love that movie.
I like it, man. But there's a certain section of it I would have really liked to just cut out, because it's really just wasted time, and I would have liked for them to explore the ending more, and I won't blow it for you, but it's that the back end, and I know you want to leave kind of a cliffhanger, but this thing's not coming back for a part 2, because then it becomes Tron at that point.
It's when he finds there's nothing. There's nothing out there.
Yeah. To me, I think that there could have been a coming back to town, completely losing his marbles scene. Just they could have done a real head scratcher, and he's like, "You could have seen it," and all the people are like, "Yeah, get out of here, Johnny." He's like just running, almost like with the dude running down the street in It's a Wonderful Life. Remember where he's like, Merry Christmas. He's running down, yelling at everybody, have him do that type of scene, but just wigging out. He's like, "It's all over. We're just programs."
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
How do I know? I do know a lot about that film somehow. I haven't seen it though, but I have listened to analysis of it. So
yeah, I think you'll like it. There's a few, like the antagonist is a pretty good. They
oh man, I know
he was casted well. He was casted well. And then I don't really like the main lead dude. He's kind of a weird looking dude, but that's just a personal preference.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it wasn't bad, and I think they did a good job on the the effects of early, or the trying to model early LA, because it used to just be oil derricks, a lot of oil derricks.
Fascinating,
yeah. So they kind of show that, and kind of that early, and they kind of moved all that out of there, because when you walk the beaches, especially Zuma, or let's say Imperial Beach, which Imperial Beach is the one that LAX, if you fly out of Los Angeles airport, you fly right over Imperial Beach. Most don't know, but you're like almost right on the beach when you fly out, and then you fly over Imperial, and that's the kind of a scummy beach. But when you walk, you get these what I call them tar balls on the bottom of your feet. Do you get those there?
We do, place? And no, every now and then, but they kind of don't understand what they keep saying. What are these mysterious balls that keep washing up on the beach? But they're something to do with oil, aren't they?
Well, oil is an abiotic type fluid. It's not.
Yes,
it's not.
That's
it's
right.
Not,
so I'm there with you. I'm there.
So, and the process it's made is called, just so it's called serpentinization. That's let me try to spell it for you. Serpent. So serpentinization. Yeah, that's right. So serpent. So, and what it does is it's taking the minerals and it's just the oil is always going to be there. It's
the Earth's lubrication between the plates and things like that. Manufactured not by dead dinosaurs. I just hate to ruin it for anyone that's been listening to the show, hoping that there's going to be a story about dead dinosaurs creating all your oil that you're using. But that's a complete lie.
Well, that's another interesting thing about compartmentalization of people is when they deconstruct one. Let's say they figure out that that there's no dinosaurs. I call them dinosaurs. I have a video, dinosaurs part 1 through 3, which I'll repost.
Good man. Yeah, you got to keep this one going.
And then it's like, but once they get to that point, now you have to say, okay, now that was all a hoax. Now I need to take everybody involved with that and extrapolate out, go outwards, and then bring in all of those people. And then it shouldn't be too long before you've collapsed the entire system internally. And then that leaves you standing there, quite literally naked before God. And then you get back what's true. And then you're able to start to observe, test, and realize through revelation what's true. And it's always been there. All this stuff is put there, for the reason. Because in this place, this hell, this is hell. And so then the only interaction with the mankind from the spirits, which is the only thing that spirit left from the giants, is the spirit, because the body was uncreated per Book of Enoch. Therefore, the spirit's what remains in the modern day to mislead men. So those spirits are what leads these writers into writing these scripts, which is why the same idea
it's the same idea. So they're getting, and people go, I've just had this great idea for this book.
Yep.
It's just the spirits of the air just coming in and, giving them, hang on, talk about this, mention this, and you can pretend it's your own idea.
Well, the thing is, it happens quite quickly, because you have to know that with these demons, there's the sugar, but then there's also the little sour seed at the back end. So you're going to get what you think you're going to get, but then it comes with a price at the back end. So it's going to be that book that you consume sweet, and then when it hits your belly, it becomes sour.
Yeah.
So because what happens is these guys go at it with the wrong intent. Their intent is to make mammon, to make money, to become rich, to then live a lifestyle. X, Y, do you see how one thing leads into the next? And then that becomes a ritual. And then they think, because of this, I have to do this. And if I don't do this, I'll stop hearing that echo, that voice. Because these people can write, and this can happen. You can write nonstop for a day and write an entire script. They're actually not that long when they're written out. A movie, an hour and a half, 2 hours, written out is actually not that long, Rick. No. Because you have to look at a movie, how much of it's talking and how much is just visuals, jumping around and dancing and fighting.
Yeah, and extended scenes of sunrises and moons and things like that, yeah.
So if you can just condense it to the writing bit, I can knock that out real quick. And if you're under the influence of a spirit, of a demon, you're going to knock it out in a couple hours, one sitting. You're just going to bang it out, man.
You'll notice there's a group of people out there that are usually responsible for a huge amount of the music and a huge amount of the movie scripts out there. And they call it Tin Pan Alley for the music back in the day, and even up to Neil Diamond and all those, Carole King, all part of the same kind of group of people that are very good at listening to influential voices in their ears, obviously.
Well, when you look at Carole King, she's a Jew, obviously. So it's like whenever I see these faces, I'm like, what? I look at their family, I look at what they're brought up in, and I look at what type of rituals happen in their household. Because what's different? What's different between me and anyone else you're going to talk to, Rick, is I know for a fact angels and demons are real. I'm not. I know. Yeah, I know you can interact with them, and I know that you do.
Bongversations 55. We'll be back, and then
no matter what your age,
you're listening to Conversation
or your affiliation
on truthmeets.com.
Let yourself engage.
And now back to the conversation.
In the art of conversation.
Thank you. Send some money to the wonderful Truth Meets platform, which is a boutique platform that's not involved with YouTube and all these other giant corporations. So back on to Bongversations 55 with Dave for the last bit of the shoe. On with the shoe, Dave.
Are we bringing up, we're on the final quarter? So
I
yeah,
think
so
so.
to go back to the movie, you were talking about, The Enemy of the State. Remember
Yeah.
that was the one where they had at the beginning where the Congressman Hammersley was opposing this counterterrorism bill, which the John Voight character was pushing,
Yeah.
and he was working for the National NSA, where they're building them up. Now with that was directed by Tony Scott, and just so you know, they keep this in the house. That's the younger brother of Ridley Scott.
That's right.
So it's
jumped
like-
off a bridge.
yeah.
Jumped off a bridge allegedly.
Yeah. So you have Unstoppable. You have so the Tony Scott, the one who does Enemy of the State. He goes on to do. Then he does a bunch of Denzel Washington joints: Man on Fire, Deja Vu, Taking a Plenum, 1, 2, 3, Unstoppable, things like that. And then the other guy, though, the brother, he does.
Ridley. Alien.
With Prometheus. Prometheus, I think, was one I would rather. I'm going to try and find it. Actually, I'm going to try and find if there's an original.
This is like
script,
Alien
because-
Part 6 or something or other, isn't it? Really, Prometheus, because it's tied in with the Alien movie.
Yeah, and well, you had Alien Covenant, which came out in 2017. I really didn't watch too many of the Alien movies, other than the first one, obviously, the third one. And I saw most of Prometheus. The thing about Prometheus is I think that it was subjected to let's just say dumbing down by the studio, to where it got chopped up to where
Yeah,
it
like
kind of
Eyes
lost
Wide
its
Shut.
point.
Eyes Wide Shut was another one. Yeah.
Yeah, so they get chopped up, and unfortunately the people chopping them are chopping them for visual and giving no mind. What they're doing is they're chopping it to please their carnal mind, meaning that they're somehow aroused by what they're seeing and they don't like it, so they cut it. But what that does is that anyone watching behind them misses part of the visual cues that were being given.
Right.
So it's like all of a sudden it's like the scene, it's not. So then these directors, they're under the influence of these spirits, so they're going to put out what's being told because they're thinking that's their idea, their thought, their vision. I need you. Oh, hey, I need you to look at the camera and emote for me.
Yeah.
So they're thinking that this is all their vision, but this is all direction being given. They're thinking, you see, so it's the director giving direction, being directed by having direction. So it's like a director is, and that's how this works. And that's why all these, really regardless of the different director itself, but when a story or a certain power is introduced into the film, there's similar across the board, meaning that they share the same power. Because they're representing the same power or the same demon. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So all this stuff matters. So that whether it be just you look at the name given by this one, Oribus, all of that matters. Every bit of it. The letters used to make it, and also then the so-called powers that are given to it, and then just look at in so-called life how it interacts with people who try to manipulate you.
Yes.
Okay? Because in this one, this particular power, it will be a two-face, meaning that it's going to rob Peter to pay Paul, meaning that it's going to favor friends and friends of foes and foes of friends, meaning that there might be it's people being put against each other while they both think that they're being given positive input.
Yeah.
And they are both being given positive input. But what they don't see is the idea of the butterfly effect, or how that because they were so determined to get what they want, they then encroached on the other, their sphere of influence, their soy, their aura, encroached on the other, and then changed their direction. It's
an
like
aura
it's,
and aura bus, and aura bus. Yeah.
so you change the direction of someone's life. It's like a magnetic thing. In a vacuum, in the idea of a vacuum, if you're dropping metal onto a wafer in a vacuum, as soon as it drops or it leaves the target, which is the metal surface, is what's called a target. As soon as it leaves the target, it travels in a straight line until it meets an obstacle. And then it sticks to the obstacle, whether it be the wafer or the shielding, and that's put around it. It's going to adhere to one of those two things. So then that's the same idea with this, is that you're moving in a straightforward line, minding your own stuff, and then someone then aura buses you. They run into you.
You go under the or a bus.
Yeah, you go under the aura bus, man, and your life force, And yeah, man. So it all works out. So next week, or the next time we have a show, it might be 2 weeks. Could be a week. It could be 2 weeks.
Whatever.
We're going to be talking about 56. And that's going to be the idea. Yeah. And we're going to be going into, and you'll notice that 55 is interesting because it goes to 0 on one end and it goes to 10 on the other side, which is unique. And it compounds to 7, which is awesome. But then also that it's the balance. And it's like if you go to the middle of the 1611, if you use basically the center of the 1611, the center of the book, if you don't add in like the beginning notes, which aren't part of the script, the center word is Lord, Lord. Now that's the exact 5-5 switch, because guess what the middle of that word is? OR. RO.
Interesting.
Or. So this one or that one. Do you see? So you have the 3 or the 4 idea, the Lord. So or the L or the D, the 3, L12. So the 3 or the D. It's like you take the ring or the door. So it's like everything's a choice. So you see, no matter how you look at all this stuff, it's like mathematics and arithmetic. It's always gonna check itself.
Yes.
Yeah. So it always checks itself. So yeah, we're pretty good, man. That was a good show.
Oh, dude, hey man, fantastic! You've done it again, Dave.
Out.
You always do the show better than the last one. You've done it again.
Nice.
Fabulous. So this is Bongversations 55. We'll be back. It could be next week, could be the week after, but either way, we'll be back. Just like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, we'll be back. We'll be back. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Be blessed.
Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.